Happening today in southern Indiana, the lead detective in the Harvest homecoming murder case taking the stand. WHAS11 News covering the trial from the courtroom. Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Doug Proffitt.
And I'm Connie Leonard. The detective said Isaiah Page shot 18-year-old Bryce Gerlach, an innocent bystander from Cordon, Indiana, during a 33-second shootout in New Albany. Let's check in with our Ian Hardwitt, who is live at the courthouse in New Albany.
And Indiana State Police were also there involved in this investigation that night. What did they have to say on the stand today?
Yeah, Doug, we heard from a Sergeant Philip D'Angelo. He reconstructs shooting crime scenes for Indiana State Police. He said that it was highly likely that whoever shot 18-year-old Bryce Gerlach was standing on top of the steps near the fountain in front of the YMCA just down the road from me. He said that's because the wound on Gerlach's back was oval shaped, and he said that only happens when there's a lot of difference in elevation between the shooter and the person that was shot. Now, when we covered this last week, the judge said it would be very important for the jury to see the elevation in that area. They did do a walkthrough. However, the defense started poking holes in D'Angelo's testimony. They said that it may have been possible that Gerlach could have been crouching or leaning forward whenever he was shot. That could have affected the shape of the wound. But earlier today, when we heard from the lead detective in this case, state prosecutors were expecting the testimony of Damaris Gardner Person. He accepted a 7-year plea deal, but Gardner Person backed out. Prosecutors read his deposition. In it, he says Page, the accused in this case, shot up and over the parking lot ride area at the festival. That's where Bryce Gerlach and 2 other bystanders who survived were shot. So far, no witness has said that Page actually shot into the ride area. Prosecutors did share an audio clip from Page they said was recorded the day after the shooting, him saying, quote, "There ain't gonna be no fighting, I'm talking Swiss cheese." Now, as far as the overall timeline of how this trial is playing out, prosecutors expected to bring one more witness to the stand, but with the courthouse closing, this could still stretch on even further as we wait to get towards a verdict. Reporting live for WHAS 11 News, I'm Ian Hardwitt on your side.
All right, Ian, thank you. Today, Mayor Craig Greenberg shared new details after a woman died coming into contact with a Metro garbage truck last week.
In a statement released just yesterday, an attorney representing the family identified the woman as 35-year-old Tyra Adams. Last Thursday, Metro garbage truck crews were performing a routine alleyway cleanup off 26th Street and Muhammad Ali Boulevard. Police say Adams came into contact with equipment on a garbage truck that day and then later died at the hospital.
Today, Greenberg said it appears Adams was inside some of the trash that crews collected. She was able to get out before it was hauled away. He called her death a tragic loss.
A woman who could not be seen by the crew was in some of this garbage that was picked up and moved to another location before it was hauled away. And in the course of that, again, unseen, the woman suffered injuries. And while she did leave the scene of where the garbage was then put down, she ultimately died. And that is certainly a tragic loss.
The family's attorney, Stephanie Rivas, told WHAS 11 News Adams was homeless and known to stay in that alley. Rivas calls the city's actions concerning and says the family still has limited information even after inspecting the garbage truck.
Public Works says employees involved are on administrative leave while the investigation continues. LMPD's Public Integrity Unit is leading the case and asking anyone with information to contact Metro Police.
Also here at 5, this man accused of shooting and killing an Indiana police officer, a suburban Indiana police officer outside Indianapolis last night, is now in custody. Indiana State Police say 47-year-old Kenneth Johnson was arrested by the SWAT team officers in Indianapolis at about 10:30 last night after a 4-hour-long search. Indianapolis police say police officers responded to a domestic disturbance near the Beech Grove High School shortly after 5:30 last night. 2 officers were shot at that scene from the Beech Grove Police Department. One of them died. The other taken to the hospital and is expected to recover. Our sister station in Indianapolis reporting someone noticed Johnson at an apartment and told police, leading to a standoff before he was ultimately arrested. This is the fallen officer, 33-year-old Brian Elliott. The Beech Grove Police Department called Elliott's death a devastating loss for the agency. Elliott was a 2-year veteran of the force and a graduate of nearby Beech Grove High School.
The Texas man charged with terroristic threatening against Louisville football coach Jeff Brom pleaded guilty and took a plea deal. Brian Mendel was charged in November with 6 counts of terroristic threatening and 1 count of criminal attempt by extortion for threats made against Brom's family. The threats came following Louisville's overtime loss against Cal. Today, the Commonwealth's Attorney's Office says Mendel pled guilty to 1 count, and if he meets all the conditions of the agreement over 2 years, his sentence will be diverted.
We've got some thunderstorms on the way, moving through Kentuckiana. Of course, at this time of year, that usually means, Connie, they're bringing in another cold front to come through the area. We're also on the alert. Could it bring some snow?
Well, there's that, but I think a lot of people are worried just about the storms in general and maybe power getting knocked out. Is that a possibility?
It's a possibility. It always is when we do have a severe weather threat, and we are looking at that time frame to be Thursday evening into Thursday night. We have a lot to talk about this week, and before we even get to that point, we have this spring-like weather that started to roll in beginning yesterday. We're even warmer today. Live look outside from our Hughes and Coleman U of L health camera. You can tell it's mostly cloudy, but temperatures today managed to warm into the low to mid 60s in Louisville. We made it to 63 degrees at both airports, 63 in Fern Creek, 64 currently in Shepherdsville. And this was after starting off the day with temperatures in the 30s. So we did warm up nicely, all thanks to this southerly wind. We still have temperatures in the 50s in southern Indiana and mid 60s down to the south. Max HG radar, we are dry, just seeing all that cloud cover we were just talking about. And temperatures tonight will not be dropping all too much. Expect overnight lows in the 50s. That's going to be our jumping off point to warm into the upper 60s tomorrow afternoon. Even warmer weather on the way Thursday. Once again, with that severe weather threat, we will talk much more about that coming up in our 7-day forecast.
A rainbow. Red and yellow, black and white. We're all precious in God's sight.
And of course, he created the famed Rainbow Coalition. The Reverend Jesse Jackson right here in Louisville from this video from the WHAS11 archives. There's Maddie Jones, 1984. He came here often. The famous message from Reverend Jackson ending with "Everybody is somebody."
It's a mantra that he carried as a presidential candidate and one that was remembered this morning in Louisville during a special service to remember his life. And this morning, we learned that the Reverend Jackson died at the age of 84. He died in peace, surrounded by family at his home in Chicago.
Well, that famous phrase that we just aired for you was one that echoed in Louisville 40 years ago as he was campaigning for president. WHAS11's Conroy Deluge and photojournalist Jessica Farley show us today how he's being remembered across this city that he visited often.
Tonight, there are 2 facts we know. One is that I was not elected president. The other more basic fact is that I'm qualified.
2 decades before Barack Obama was elected president, Jesse Jackson made 2 competitive bids for the White House. He campaigned across Kentucky, from Louisville to Harlan.
A man of Reverend Jackson's stature, I think, is important to finding the solutions.
And all of us look just alike in the dark when the lights go out.
He did not win, but the civil rights icon continued visiting Kentucky.
Jesse Jackson would show up wherever there was injustice.
As people protested social injustice and the police shooting of Breonna Taylor in 2020,
No peace.
Jesse Jackson came back to Louisville.
The whole world revolted. Want fairness and justice.
Dr. Kevin Cosby shared a stage with Jackson during that visit.
I think when I first met him, I was so in awe of him because he's iconic.
All my life you have been faithful.
Hours after Jackson died at 84 years old, the pews were packed inside Central Presbyterian Church. The congregation delivering the same message he did 4 decades ago.
Somebody.
Jackson may not be around to deliver another stirring sermon, but his legacy lives on in Louisville, right on the campus of Simmons College at the Center for Racial Justice.
There are 101 HBCUs, but the family selected Louisville's HBCUs to help continue his great work and to maintain his legacy.
Even in death, to continue leaving lessons for future generations.
Our mission says we want them to become agents of change in society. We want them to see him as an example of a person that did it and that they too can do it.
Jackson is gone, but the fight for a more perfect union continues. In Louisville, Conroy DeLuche, WHAS11 on your side.
And I will say, I got to cover him a lot here in Louisville. He was mesmerizing. I also went down to cover him in South Carolina at a church there. And making that campaign stop as he was running for president. You know, during his weekly briefing today, Louisville Mayor Craig Greenberg called Jackson an amazing civil rights leader who gave him great hope for the country.
And tonight, a number of famous political figures are reacting to Reverend Jackson's death, including President Trump. Now, via Truth Social, he wrote in part, he was a good man with lots of personality, grit, and street smarts. He was very gregarious, someone who truly loved people. Jesse was a force of nature, like few others before him.
Meantime, the Obamas are also reacting to Reverend Jesse Jackson's death today. Today, former President Barack Obama of Chicago issuing a statement saying, for more than 60 years, Reverend Jackson helped lead some of the most significant movements for change in human history. Michelle and I will always be grateful for Jesse's lifetime of service and the friendship our families share.
Major improvements are coming to southern Indiana, from stormwater infrastructure to park improvements. Today, U.S. Representative from Indiana, Aaron Houchin, announced more than $7 million in community project funding across southern Indiana. Houchin, representing Indiana's 9th District, made the announcement today at multiple sites that will receive the money, including Stampede Community Park. In November of 2024, a hillside slide damaged a major section of the trail system at the park, and a 650-foot stretch of it has been closed off ever since. Now, Houchin says $175,000 has been secured to repair that damaged section and reinforce the slope so the trail can reopen safely.
It restores a critical walking connection and ensures residents can fully use the park again. These are the kinds of projects that federal funding should support, one that directly improves the daily life for residents.
Now, Houchin says more than $7 million in funding will go toward blight elimination in Charlestown, shoreline protection in Clark County, and stormwater management improvements in Madison.
It is your voice, your vote, 2026, and the campaign trail in the race to replace the retiring Mitch McConnell moves to Louisville today for the second time in fewer than 2 weeks. Republican U.S. Senate candidate Andy Barr of Lexington making stops here in Louisville. Today, he spoke to the local Military Officers Association at Wildwood Country Club off Bardstown Road, stressing the importance of defense spending. We asked him whether he's putting extra focus on courting Louisville voters, despite the fact that the city votes majority Democrat.
Politically, there's a lot of Republicans in Louisville. Of course, this is a blue political place. The governor won here, Morgan McGarvey, but it's a big city, which means there's a lot of Republicans here as well, and those Republicans deserve advocacy and representation.
In his remarks, Barr told veterans he supports President Donald Trump's military moves on Iran's nuclear sites last year and Venezuela this year.
The other high-profile Republicans vying for Senator Mitch McConnell's seat are former Kentucky Attorney General Daniel Cameron and Nate Morris, the Lexington tech entrepreneur. U.S. Air Force veteran and business owner Michael Ferris is also running. Kentucky's 2026 primary election is May 19th.
Episode 2 of our new WHAS11 political show is tomorrow. We're going to be focusing on Congressman Thomas Massie after interviewing Congressman Morgan McGarvey in the last episode. The Powers That Be is tomorrow night at 8 on WHAS 11 Plus. Download for free.